Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, the research that you're doing on hydraulic fracking right now seems to be focused on the impact on water quality. Is the Department of Energy doing any research on improving fracking in the terms of making it more and more economically viable? As the price of oil has come down, obviously it gets to a price point where it's not viable. Is DOE trying to do anything to make it more economically viable?
Again, I'll get back to you in detail, but my understanding at the moment is that we are not, that is principally in the private sector, and what we are looking at is mostly the minimization of environmental footprint, but of course that in turn would have economic consequences.
Wait on that. You're investing enormous amounts of money in trying to make renewable energy economically viable. You are the Department of Energy, you're not the EPA. So it would make sense to me that through the Department of Energy we would want to have maximum access to our energy resources because it helps our economy, improves our national security. So why wouldn't the Department of Energy be investing in supporting additional research and making fracking more economically viable?
Well, again, I'll look into that in detail, but as we said earlier, the department has certainly over these last decades contributed substantially to developing the technology, and now one has very large companies who are investing in that research. We want to add value with the government funding. So my view, at least, is right now focusing mainly on things like, for example, reuse of water.
Well, I want to stay on this theme a little bit. Have we returned to the pre-BP spill levels for permitting in the Gulf Coast for oil exploration and extraction?
I don't know that. That's a Department of Interior issue, and I just don't know that directly.
Okay. The Department of Energy doesn't do the permitting?
No, we do not.
Okay. Well, I'll just say for the record that if we got back to the permitting level, it would add 190,000 jobs if we cleared the backlog that existed at the time of Deepwater Horizon. That would add another 400,000 and about $45 billion to our gross domestic product. I want to switch to something else. There was an article in the LA Times back in December 2013, about 14 months ago, a little over 14 months ago, that talked about our power grid and the fact that it's not designed for renewables, and that to get it up to grade by 2030 is going to cost us about $1 trillion. Has the Department of Energy taken that into account in the headlong push toward renewables?
Yes, indeed. We have a very, very large focus on the whole question of renewables integration. It's part of our grid modernization project. We'll be saying more about that in our upcoming quadrennial energy review, probably in a few weeks. I hope, at least, in a few weeks. And I would also say that I would perhaps question the scale of that resource.
Well, it came out of Caltech. I think they're a fairly reputable source. But the other thing is the fact that with renewables, you don't have consistent energy output. If the wind, right now we're having to dump power because we don't have viable storage options, and there's a huge debate over whether or not we can make that economically viable. But I want to ask you something else in the last few seconds that I have. And it appears that we plan to have 80% of our power, our energy resources coming from renewables within the next 2 or 3 decades. Does the Department of Energy have any plans for the fossil fuel resources that we have that I think represent an enormous economic resource for the country in terms of oil, natural gas, and coal?
Well, certainly in terms of the power sector, where oil does not play such a major role, of course, in the United States, but in terms of the power sector, all of these multi-billion-dollar investments and now proposed tax credits for coal. Very much are for having coal continue to have a major presence, even with low carbon. Natural gas we see as a very important bridge to low carbon, and in FY16 we're proposing to start carbon capture with gas as well. And then, of course, the nuclear, renewables, and efficiency. Efficiency, of course, is generally speaking also a fossil program, if you like. It's about efficient use of fossil fuels.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.